Yes, I am angry, and there are several reasons why I am angry. Firstly, the news that this terrible attack in Germany, they reported all over the media, and the same story keeps on recurring. The latest statistics, terrible statistics: 205 people injured and 5 dead, including child age 9. The people killed at a Christmas market, of course. And in the BBC, the same headline. German police say 9-year-old among 5 people killed in Christmas market attack. And I've just noticed a pattern emerging here that this attack is called a Christmas market attack. That's the very headline language used in the Times. We go to the BBC, it calls the attack a Christmas market attack. So then I went to the Telegraph to see what they are calling it. And indeed, their latest headline is Child 9 among 5 killed in German Christmas market attack. It's the same language. I go to GB News, the popularist right-wing broadcaster. They say German authorities are very clear, saying this was a deliberate ramming attack. GB News Home and Security editor Mark White provides the latest insight into an attack at a Christmas market in Germany, consistently being portrayed in the same language as a Christmas market attack. But what is missing from this? Well, it's obvious. Any mention of it being a terrorist attack. This is not a terror attack. The language has been quietly dropped. And what's very peculiar about this, of course, is that identical examples, very sadly, have happened in Germany in the past. And they've always been called terrorist attacks, always terror attacks, but not today. What is different? Well, I think it's obvious what's different. Today's attack was carried out by a fanatical ex-Muslim, anti-Muslim, right-wing AFD supporting guy. He was actually a doctor of all things, working in psychiatry, apparently. But because he's not a Muslim, therefore, it would seem, it's not been called a terrorist attack, even though he was motivated by ideology, extreme Islamophobic ideology, which he was very open about on social media. The Saudi government apparently warned the German authorities about his extremist views. So he's publicly stating these really vicious anti-Muslim views. He deliberately targets civilians, people in a market of all things, and yet it's not a terrorist attack. I mean, I cannot understand the logic of this other than sheer hypocrisy, sheer double standards. Why? Because Muslims are not involved, and therefore it's not going to be treated the same way. And this double standards is really shocking, I think. I think many people will see this as unsurprising, perhaps, because the way the Western media reports on events is very biased. If Muslims are involved, it's framed very differently than it is if non-Muslims are involved. But it's just the same across the media, whether it be GB News, the right-wing broadcaster, or the Telegraph, or the BBC, or the Times. They all call it an attack on a Christmas market. No mention of terror or terrorism there. And it's all to do with, he was anti-Muslim and he was this and that, but no mention of terrorism. And I think this speaks to an appalling double standard in the media. We see this in Gaza, we see this elsewhere, where people who are Muslims and non-white as well are treated as less than human compared to Westerners when it comes to atrocities and war crimes and genocide and so on. It matters less if it happens to them. But if Muslims are in any way involved in violence, and of course there are some terrible atrocities committed by people who call themselves Muslims in some Western countries, then automatically it's terrorism. If a non-Muslim does exactly the same thing, exactly the same modus operandi, targeting civilians for ideological reasons, guess what? It's not classified as terrorism. So far, the German authorities haven't done that. The media not reporting it in that way. So I think this is quite shocking. There are just one or two voices that are calling it that. You get these stray people who reported to calling it a terrorist attack, but clearly the media, in their concerted desire to not call it that, are calling it a Christmas market attack. And this speaks to how discredited the media are. They're not unbiased, they're not objective, they're using double standards, standards that apply to one group of people and another different set of standards that apply to another group of people. And the only difference is the religion of one and the rest. And this is simply unacceptable. And it plays into this larger issue, which most of the world has noticed, most of humanity now knows, that the West, when it speaks of, as it does endlessly, about human rights and individual freedom and liberty and the rule of law, the international rule of law. So it's a bastion of fairness and objectivity and so on. But when you actually look at what happens, our actions in the West, in Gaza, when we see in this instance, it's not like that at all. There is no standard for everyone. There's a different standard for Muslims and different standard for other people. And this has been exposed now with the genocide, of course, and now it's been exposed in this terrible terrorist attack in Germany that no one seems to be calling a terrorist attack, even though it's identical to other actions where people have horribly driven into crowds at festive times like Christmas. So this is what's making me angry. I know some people would say, look, it's not surprising. We shouldn't be surprised. And I see that. But really, if you live in the West and you're constantly hearing this iteration of fairness and journalistic integrity and so on, and then you actually see that being violated in a very blatant, explicit way right in front of our eyes, it's hard not to be extremely cynical about these claims to journalistic integrity and reporting the facts and, the same standards applying to everyone. Because in reality, as we can all see, that is not the case. So that's why I'm angry. I guess many people would say, why be angry, Paul? We all know this is the case with the media. But, maybe I'm naive, but, when you wake up and you see atrocity like this in Germany, you just assume everyone's got to see it for what it obviously is, a terrorist attack. And then the media doesn't say that. And you're thinking, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Maybe I should have seen it coming. It's a dreadful attack. It should be condemned as such. We'll see what the German authorities do if they charge this guy. Apparently, according to some reports, guess what? He's been charged with murder, of course, but not terrorism, not terrorism. And this really speaks to the utter hypocrisy, the utter double standards and inconsistency of the way the law is applied, especially when it comes to Muslim and non-Muslim kind of issues. So that's my rant, the reason I'm upset. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. If you think I'm wrong or you found someone who actually is calling it a terrorist attack, because if it's not called that will tell the whole world of the hypocrisy and double standards, not just of the media, but of the authorities as well, who do not implement the law fairly and objectively across the board, but they have double standards. They treat people differently in this way, which of course is unacceptable. If you believe in decency and fairness and the rule of law, everyone should be treated the same way in this sense in Europe. But that's not the case at the moment. But we'll see. But that's my view at the moment. Let me know what you think. Till next time.